Why do super empaths keep ending up with avoidance? It's not because opposites attract. It's because each person sees something in the other that feels impossible to find anywhere else. The problem is that what draws them together can also create one of the most confusing relationship dynamics there is. A super empath gets drawn to an avoidant almost instantly, not to the cold, guarded surface, but to whatever's underneath it. They sense depth, sense something the avoidant isn't saying out loud, and something in them wants to be the one who gets to see it. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why that pull goes both ways, and why what looks like deep love between them might actually be something else entirely. A super empath isn't a clinical term, just a popular label for someone highly intuitive and emotionally sensitive, who naturally makes others feel seen. They don't just notice surface behavior. They notice hidden pain and vulnerability someone's trying to hide behind their walls. That's exactly what makes an avoidant interesting to them. Avoidants aren't simply cold. An avoidance system treats vulnerability as unsafe. So instead of just hiding the desire for closeness, it turns the desire down at the source. Researchers call this deactivation. The need for connection is real, but dampened, not just disguised. Closeness, strong emotional expression, and requests for vulnerability are exactly what trigger the system to pull back. So when the two meet, the super empath feels drawn to the emotional depth underneath the avoidance walls and wants to help, understand, maybe even heal them. The avoidant feels unusually seen, possibly for the first time in a long time, which is comforting and unsettling at once. The closer the connection gets, the more the avoidant's window of tolerance for intimacy gets tested. Once it's exceeded, their nervous system treats that closeness as something to retreat from, not lean into. That's the cycle this video promised to name. The avoidant moves closer. Intimacy increases. The avoidant gets overwhelmed and pulls away. The super empath does what most people do when someone they care about goes quiet. They reach out, ask what happened, try to repair it. Nothing uniquely empath about that instinct. It's just what disconnection from someone you care about tends to provoke. But the avoidant reads that reaching out as more pressure, retreats further, then comes part of the way back, and without awareness, the sequence repeats. Here's a piece that has nothing to do with empathy, and everything to do with brain wiring. Intermittent reinforcement. When warmth arrives predictably, the brain settles. That's stable connection. When it arrives unpredictably, distant for days, then suddenly affectionate, every return produces a far bigger emotional payoff than steady affection ever would. It's the same mechanism that makes a slot machine more compelling than a vending machine. And it's part of why this pairing feels so hard to walk away from. This gets mistaken for deep love constantly. What's actually happening is closer to emotional familiarity, a pull toward a pattern that feels recognizable and intense, built on highs and lows. Intensity isn't depth, and a push-pull cycle isn't compatibility. A super empath feels most engaged by emotional complexity, and an avoidant creates exactly that. Not on purpose, but because retreating is the only language their nervous system speaks right now. Research backs part of this directly. Couple studies on empathic accuracy found that people higher in attachment avoidance specifically misread their partner's positive emotions, moments of love and warmth, while still reading negative emotions accurately. It's not that avoidants can't read people. It's specifically the warm, open moments that get scrambled. When a super empath is at their most open, that's the exact moment the avoidant is least equipped to receive it accurately. Both sides often run mirror image beliefs without saying them out loud. The super empath thinks, if I love them enough, they'll finally feel safe. The avoidant thinks, I want this, but it scares me. Neither is dishonest. They're two incompatible systems trying to run the same relationship. Here's the actual point of this video. What's coming next isn't tactics to get an avoidant to open up. It's standards a super empath is allowed to hold. Because tactics try to control someone else's behavior, and standards protect a person's own peace no matter what the avoidant does next. If you've ever known within the first few weeks that you were dealing with an avoidant but stayed anyway because the depth felt too rare to walk away from, drop a comment on what that depth looked like for you. When a super empath gives an avoidant space without disappearing, easing pressure without cold withdrawal, an avoidant doing real work comes back on their own timeline and acknowledges it. If they vanish for days and return like nothing happened, never acknowledging the space they were given, that's not processing. That's using space to avoid the relationship. When a super empath expresses a need calmly, like wanting a text back within a day, an avoidant capable of real intimacy feels uncomfortable, but still tries. If the response is mockery, calling them needy, or going silent specifically because a reasonable request was made, that's not needing time. That's avoidance using the request as an exit. The biggest mistake super empaths make isn't being too sensitive. It's believing they can heal someone through love alone. No amount of empathy heals a person unwilling to do their own inner work. Overgiving, rescuing, chasing, all of it leads to the super empath running on empty, while the avoidant stays exactly where they started. Empathy was never supposed to cost someone their own needs, so stop asking how to heal the avoidant. Start asking, can they meet me where I am right now, as the relationship currently stands? That question reveals more about whether a relationship has real potential or is built on emotional scarcity than analyzing their attachment style ever will. A super empath isn't too sensitive or too much. Their compassion isn't the problem. It's powerful enough to reach people who are genuinely guarded. But lasting love needs two people both willing to show up emotionally, not one person carrying the relationship while the other waits to feel safe enough to try. If this gave you clarity, send it to the friend who's currently convinced their avoidant is just busy. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like and subscribe.